Welcome to Girls, Bees, and Honey, home of the beekeeping nerd. I'm Carlos, the head nerd. This is my son, Justin. He's a co-nerd. And behind the camera is my grandson, Alvin. He'll be doing the close-ups for us today. And behind the camera today, we've got Amber, his wife. And if you're quick about it, you'll figure out that that makes her Amberger. She'll be augmenting some of the videos my grandson, Alvin, shot a few days ago when we had some technical difficulties. So we had to redo some of this. I recently returned from North American Honeybee Expo in Louisville, Kentucky, and I came back with my vehicle fueled, and I planned all my purchases except one. And I've always been a big fan of the Primal Beehive, but I didn't have it on my budget to buy one. But as I was leaving, Jason, Dr. J, was there in the booth, and I stopped to talk with him, and he offered me this one for a little bit less than half price, and I had to do it. So I loaded it up. Because I put this in, I had to spend a half hour playing Tetris on my vehicle before I could get my suitcase in so I could come home. This one was not in a box, so we won't call this unboxing. It was wrapped with saran wrap to help protect it a bit on the trip home. We previously stripped that off. Okay, included in the plastic is the Welcome to Primal Bee and manual, and sure, I'll read through that someday. First thing you'll notice, it comes with a very heavy-duty tie-down strap, and because this is so tall, I recommend you have a good base that's not too tall. Otherwise, when you get the supers on, it'll be 6 feet high or higher. But we'll remove that.
So I know you're doing your unboxing, but so why, you just said you wanted one of these. Why was it that you wanted one of these? Why were you thinking about getting
As
one?
you can see by the rest of my apiary, I'm a big fan of well-insulated condensing hives. If you don't know what that means, it means the insulation, back up a little bit there, a standard Langstroth box is 3/4 inch pine, which is about 0.5 R value. Now, bees are cold-blooded animals. They can get very, very cold and come back to life. You can see a recent Fred Dunn video where he actually gathered a bunch of bees that had been laying in the snow all night long, brought them in his house, and within a few hours, about 20% of them came back to life. So yes, bees can survive cold, but it stresses them. And if you can put a bee in an environment that more resembles a hollow tree, they're going to be less stressed, have better chance of survival. This hive is designed, along with my other hives here, but this one particularly is designed very much to emulate the inside of that tree. The walls are very thick. I believe the R value is something in the neighborhood of 50, and the roof is way more than that.
So I don't know what R value means. What does that mean?
Resistance for heat to transfer through. When you insulate your house, if you have 2x6 walls in your house, then the insulation value is about an R18. Okay. Your attic with thicker insulation is about an R35.
Okay.
And our bees deserve just to have as nice insulation as we have.
Okay. So
the other thing that's nice about the condensing hive is it has very small opening at the bottom. This one's actually bigger than what I like, but a lot of people like bigger opening in the summer so the bees can come and go more easily. A smaller opening allows the bees to control their environment more. A lot of people with a standard Langstroth hive, an issue is with condensation. The bees create warm, moist air. It rises up to the top of the hive, hits that plywood roof that's cold, condenses, and rains back on the bees and kills them. So, but humidity in a hive is actually a good thing. The best humidity level for bees in a hive for brooding is above 70%. If you have a ventilated hive, every time the humidity goes up, it rises to the top, it condenses, or if you have a vent at the top, it goes out the vent, keeping your hive dry. Here in Utah, our average humidity in the winter is 20%. That is bad for bees. So with this one, the bees can control the humidity, and they do that by moving air in and out themselves. And the hive actually, as the temperature fluctuates a little bit, actually breathes. As it warms up, the air expands and goes out. As it cools down, it sucks fresh air in. So humidity is good. Temperature, bees consume less food at a lower temperature. Randy Oliver has done a study and found that the ideal temperature is 42 degrees, which is about 3 or 4 degrees centigrade. And that's where the best curve is for food consumption. But added on to that, in the wintertime with the hive closed up, the bees will control how much CO2 is there. They get an elevated level of CO2. That elevated level of CO2 slows down their metabolism. So even though they're not cold, they're moving slower, they're consuming less food because they need less energy to stay alive. If you open up a hive like this on a day that's 30 degrees outside, which I wouldn't do for more than a second, you will find that the bees are moving around very slowly around the entire hive. That allows them to go get food that's in the far corner. If the hive is cold inside, you've got that tight cluster, the bees can't leave it. They can only go maybe an inch away before they get too cold. And so you can have a hive full of honey, but the bees will die and starve to death in a tight cluster because they can't get enough food to survive. So the Primal Beehive is a solution to the CO2 level, to the humidity level, and to the temperature level. All the things which keeps bees alive, healthy, and stress-free.
So if I understand you right, it's good insulation and it gives them the ability to control their environment easily.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, cool.
How much moisture they keep in there. If it gets too dry, they'll go out and find water and bring it back. But because of the humidity is allowed to stay inside the hive, any condensation, because the walls are a little bit thinner than the roof, condensation will be on the walls. They can just go over there and lick the water up. And so they're not stressed due to lack of water.
Well, and it looks like styrofoam, but it feels like wood. So.
And this is polystyrene foam. It's EPS, or expanded polystyrene foam. But this is not the same as the cooler you'll buy at Walmart. Cooler at Walmart, you can break it apart easily. These are very dense, quite heavy, and listen to how hard that is.
Nice solid.
Okay, let's get into it. We'll start. This is the top cover. Has no holes in it. It is, I'd say, almost 2.5 inches thick. And then underneath that is the inner cover. And the inner cover does have a hole in it. It's a feeding hole. And there's a plug there that comes out. And there's a screen that comes with it. I've already installed the screen in here so that you can keep the bees inside if that's a problem for you. The hole is big enough to put a mason jar in, or this ring will fit a 1-gallon bucket. I believe this one is a 2-gallon bucket. Go ahead and put it that way. Yeah. Okay, inside the hive, there are 8 frames. Because the insulation is so thick, they cut it down, and the other fact is that the frames are very deep. So this box, when it's full of bees, is equivalent to approximately 3 deep 8-frame boxes. So it can host a lot of bees. See, the frame has got tabs around the side and holes. Those holes are used for wiring the frame, and then you can put 3 sheets of wax foundation in there if that's the way you want to go. You could possibly put a starter strip at the top and let them build their way down. I would definitely wire it. And your question right now is probably, how do we spin the honey out of it? You do not spin the honey out of your brood chamber. This is the brood chamber. The folks at Primal Bee call it the nest box. So 8 frames like that.
And this is a little longer than the traditional frame,
yes,
isn't it?
it's as long. It's about, I believe, 27 inches, which is 3 standard Langstroth deep frames deep.
Yeah, it seems longer.
So we'll pull those out. That one. And because I already have it open, I have one foundation pre-installed, and the time it takes and the amount of effort to install this frame is amazing. And we're going to have Justin put one in one of the frames here in a minute. The last frame I'm going to pull out is the same type of frame, but it has a nice EPS, again, same density, follower board, which allows you to reduce the size of the nest box when you're first introducing bees.
So it's a separator, basically? Or?
Yes, it acts as a temporary wall.
Okay.
So if you're putting a new package of bees in, you can put 2 or 3 frames in with your foundation on it. I'll put 3 in for now. Introduce your package of bees. And for those of you that don't know what a package is, it is a screen box, approximately 19 inches long, 6 inches wide, 9 inches deep, that contains 3 pounds, approximately 3 pounds of bees. You can get 5 pounds, you can get 2 pounds, but most of them are 3 pounds of bees. It has a can with some holes in it that's full of sugar water for feeding the bees during transportation. And then it has a little cage with the queen in it so that she's with the bees, but not mixed in with them. Because most likely when it came from the source yard, the queen did not come from the same hive as the bees. So it takes them a few days to get used to her. So the first step is to open it up, take the queen out, put her inside here. And with only 3 frames, we're only using half the space. So that's equivalent of about a 6-frame Langstroth box. You introduce the bees into it, and then they will take off and start drawing the comb. And a lot of people suggest that maybe put the super on with the frames if you were to have a nuke, to put the frames for the nuke in there. And I'm kind of teetering on whether that's a good idea or not. It gives them resources to start with, but if a package goes into an empty box, then they will immediately start building a home and make themselves feel at home. And so 2 options, both of them are probably good. I don't know which is best because I don't have the experience with it.
It'll be interesting to see you. So you're going to be doing this soon, though. It's putting a new hive in there. And
I have not decided exactly
what you're going to do.
The source of the bees I'm going to use, whether I'll do splits from my existing hives, or if I'll buy another package, or if I'll buy a nuke, or possibly buy complete hives from the almonds.
It'll be interesting to watch you do it so that I can see the full picture.
Okay, I believe that the box itself comes unassembled. So you've got 2 sides, an end, the bottom board, and then this ring on the top. And this one feels like it's been glued already. Inside the hive here, it has frame rests, and they are changeable. So if you bugger them up, you can order more from the Primal Bee folks and replace those. Now I'm going to see if you can hold that base down. The very bottom section.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
Where's the handle?
I got a handle here.
There it is. I needed one on the other side. So this is the bottom board, and it comes with her different names on it. A pull-out sticky board, Varroa board it's been called, and it looks like it's just the stuff that, a little bit thinner, but it looks like the same stuff that campaign signs are made out of. So it's plastic, it's white. What I do with them is I'll put a grid of 2-inch squares on it. That makes it easier to count for any mites that drop. Also included with it is a screen for the bottom board, and it is a probably polypropylene screen, and it's the base is designed with some little tracks for that to fit into, so it's pretty easy to put in. Come on, slide in there. Slides right in. There's a shelf below and tabs above to keep it in place, and from what I understand, they recommend you take staples or pins and fasten it down so that it doesn't move. And you can run it that way if you're the kind of person that wants a screen bottom board that's open, but that defeats the whole purpose of the condensing, non-ventilated hive.
Yeah, that seems nice and solid too, good quality.
So, yeah. And then this, there's a shelf for it to hook into, and get both sides up there. And it just slides in, and that does a pretty decent job of sealing it up. It can be removed from either the front or the back. The front has 2 openings, and it comes with several of these, both plastic and EPS entrance reducers, and they fit just inside there. When the sides are sitting on top, that closes it up, so you just have 6 little holes that are approximately 3/8 inch in diameter. You can have both of them open. You can have them both completely open. You can put it in sideways like this and seal one of them off like that. Have one open. So pretty flexible. During most of the year, I would recommend one in the open position, one in the closed position. That's my personal preference. During the summertime, if you got a whole lot of traffic, then you can open it up more. And looking at it from the bottom, you can see the closed off board. Again, very dense EPS foam. All right, and there's bees in it already.
Yeah, they're already checking it out. They're like, we're ready, let's go.
Okay, yeah, we're good to go there.
You want that lined up or no?
Yes.
There you go.
Something else to note is the frames are tapered towards the bottom. And other people I've talked to about this say they're concerned about smashing bees as the wedges get tight. That won't happen because right along the edges here, there are these 3 tabs, which on each side, we stand off and center the frame inside the box. So the frames, the main part of the frame will never touch the sides of the box. It also has a little tab here on the bottom to help center it there. And there are spacing tabs, both at the top and the bottom, to keep the frames from touching each other.
I was going to say it looks like a spacer.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So as far as I'm concerned, it's very good design. And the thing I really like about it is if you raise that up that far, there's lots of room so that you're not rolling and smashing bees. You do still have to be concerned about the next frame. So be very gentle taking the first one out so you can clear some space to pull the rest of the frames out. One of my planned purchases at the NAHBE, North American Honeybee Expo, was I bought a bunch of frames for my boxes. These are wax-coated frames. They are from Hilco, and they look to be just really nice boxes, or frames I mean, and look at that, they fit. So you just slide them in there, pre-spaced. They do have a little bit of a gap between the frames, so you may end up with some propolis on the shoulders here. And when using the hive tool, I would definitely not pry against the foam. I would pry against the neighboring frame.
So do all brood frames come black like that?
The foundation and the frames normally come unwaxed. You pay a little bit extra to get them pre-waxed. You can get single wax, double wax, and triple wax from almost every company. And they add up the price a little bit for the more wax they put on because it takes a little more manufacturing process. I prefer black foundation for my brood area, for the nest areas they call it here, because when you hold it up to look to see if there's eggs, you can see that little white grain erase at the bottom of it. If you've got white or yellow, it makes it more difficult to see it. And if you're old like me, then it's really difficult to see it. The frames I put in here will most likely have natural wax foundation because I have a bunch of those too. But these were handy, so I pulled them out to check the fit here, make sure they're good. And again, it holds 8 frames. And they fit nicely, a little bit loose. We'll have to see how the bees do as far as propolizing them. And my kit came with 2 supers. And when I first thought a foam box this high has got a lot of side force for the wind to hit. But if you think about it, just even the bottom, 3 frames full of bees is going to be roughly 90 pounds.
Pretty heavy.
The box itself probably weighs 20. Put a super on it, another super on top of it, and you can see why you want your stand to be fairly short. Where I live, the legal requirement is that the stand be 6 inches tall. So, and I'm probably 9, so I can go a little bit shorter. But if we throw together another super, and top. Wrong way. Yeah. Now, my property does have quite a slope to it, so I'd have to work them from the uphill side. Look at that fast. I've got 2 supers. So I am 6'2".
And I am 5'10", and I can still work it.
Question comes up, what if you want to feed your bees? Now, if you're in season where you're feeding, which is right now is a good season, you want to be having at least dry food on it. On an insulated hive, my insulated hives, I put both dry and wet food on it, and I don't have problems with condensation because they're so well insulated. But, so you've got your, like right now here in Utah, the bees are bringing in pollen like crazy, but there is no nectar source. So to do the feeding, you take your inner cover, pop the hole out, or the plug out. If you're doing a bottle, you can feed it right on the screen. If you're putting a bucket feeder on, then take that screen out so the bees can get up to the bucket. We'll pretend like I'm doing a bottle. Actually, we can even do more than pretend. We can get my solar wax melter and act like it.
Solar wax melter, how fun.
And it just sets down there on top of the hole. The bees can eat out of it. Now, this bottle is really warm. It's 53 degrees right now, but the bottle's a whole lot more than that. In fact, it's going to start dripping wax. So I'll move it out. But with an inverted feeder that works on the vacuum system, as the sun comes out in the daytime, it warms up the air inside, it warms up the syrup, and they expand. And then in the evening, it cools down and they shrink. That sucks air bubbles into the container. Then the next morning, when the sun comes out, it heats up and expands, and it gives the bees a shower. So I don't like that. So I keep a cover over the top of my feeder. And the way I do that is by adding an extra super on top. In this case, they have it pre-planned. So you put the inner cover down, and you grab an empty super. Put your feeder inside the position. Put the inner cover down, super down. I'm going to put this in here for storage so I don't lose it. And then the outer cover. And that way your feed container is inside an insulated area. Temperature fluctuations won't be nearly as high. So to assemble the super, pretty simple. You make sure you got the top and the top. Is that right? Is that the top? Second. I'm going to say yes because the handle's that way. And there are molded handles on all 4 sides, which is convenient. And you just line up the pins, snap it together.
That's the kind of construction I can handle.
I think Dr. J told me to use glue. Somebody else said you don't have to. But you just put a little glue in each of these holes, paint it on around the sides, snap it together, and it's not coming apart. But it's got a lot of friction right now holding it together.
Yeah, these feel pretty solid.
Yeah,
almost like wood.
For being poly or EPS, expanded polyurethane foam, they're pretty solid. Like you said, they feel like wood. So that's all there is to assembling a deep super for the Primal Beehive. Pretty simple. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, doesn't take any tools. Slap a little glue on it, slap it together. Do not glue the frame rests in, because if you bugger up the frame rests, then you can use the extras to replace them. Okay, we're going to see if even a newbie who doesn't know anything about keeping bees is able to put the foundation in the frame.
All right, let's see. All right, I've watched you do it once here. And
No. Oh, you're fine.
What? What?
You're fine. I'm just teasing.
Freaking me out, bro. All right. All right. One side. Okay. I'm pretty sure I did it even faster than you. All right.
And you got that one.
Yeah, all right.
Success.
Yeah.
He did it. His very first Primal foundation installation. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Girls, Bees, and Honey. I'm the beekeeping nerd, Carlos. This is my son, Justin. We were accompanied today by his wife, Amber,
Sure.
who is also a beekeeper. She has a few hives of her own, too. Have a great day. That concludes it for this episode of Girls, Bees, and Honey, home of the beekeeping nerd. I'm Carlos, the head nerd. My son Justin, who joins me occasionally, and his daughter.
Victory, cut.
Cut. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Girls, Bees, and Honey, home of the beekeeping nerd. I'm Carlos. This is my son Justin. This is my daughter-in-law Amber, and Amber is also a beekeeper. Justin's a wannabe beekeeper. And have a great day.
True. You may want to do that one more time.
Why?
Because I gave you bunny ears.
Come on over, Amber.
Well, should I wait?
Yeah, wait. Just, yeah.
Okay. And let's see, we covered the entrances, we covered the things. I think we covered it. Okay, cut.
Well, thanks for coming to the Carlos Nerd School.
Oh, I forgot
of
that
Nerds.
part.
And we appreciate you
Is
coming.
it still going?
Please remember to like and subscribe to the nerds, the Gur Nerds.
Okay.
This dog is killing me.
Stand out of the camera by Justin, and then when I introduce you, step in, give him a hug or grab his shoulder or whatever.
Oh.
Okay. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Girls, Bees, and Honey, Beekeeping Nerd, home of the beekeeping. Wait. Put on an empty, a glued together empty super box.
We just put that one on the bloopers reel there.
Yeah, it might even just stay in there.
There you go.
Put together a glued super box. Thanks for joining us and watching this episode of whatever we call it. Thanks for joining us and watching this episode. And I'm Carlos, the beekeeping nerd, and this channel is Girls, Bees, and Honey. Thanks for joining us. Let me shoot that again. Hi, thanks for joining us for this video. I'm Carlos, the beekeeping nerd, joined by my son Justin, my grandson Avin behind the camera, and this has been Girls, Bees, and Honey. Have a great day.